This is good. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, October 4th, 2022 meeting. Tonight we will hear three cases. Prior to any discussion the board members may have on the case being presented, we will begin with a report from the planning and zoning staff that will summarize each case. We will then ask the applicant to step up to the podium to ask or answer any questions and present support of their application. We ask the applicant to begin by stating their full name and address for the record as these meetings are being recorded. We will then ask for any public participation that will support the case being heard, and then anyone that may want to oppose the case being heard. Again, we ask all participants to begin by stating their full name and address, and please remember the topic of discussion needs to remain relevant to the case being heard. The purpose of the Planning and Zoning Board is to hear the cases and make recommendations to the Clay County Commission. The Commission will review and decide the cases heard tonight on October 19th, 2022 at 3 p.m. in this room. And with that, can we get begin tonight with a roll call of attendance, please?
Terry Griffin.
Present.
David Rodas.
Present.
Mike Brinkley.
Present.
Brad Scarlett. Tom Decker. Marvin Davis.
Present. Okay, I'm assuming everyone has copies of the minutes. If you've reviewed those, could we get a motion to approve the minutes of our September 6th meeting as presented?
Motion approved.
In a second?
Second.
Anyone? Thank you. And can we get a roll call vote?
David Rodas.
Approved.
Mike Brinkley.
Approved.
Terry Griffin.
Approve.
And Marvin Davis.
Approve.
Motion carries.
Okay, we'll move forward. The first case we will hear tonight is case number October 22, 153RZ/P. This is a request for rezoning from agricultural district to residential ranchette district with an agricultural land preservation overlay district, and preliminary plat approval for the proposed subdivision Forest Rocky Creek. Shane, can we get a staff report, please?
Yeah. I would like to add the staff report to the official record.
So be it.
All right, so this is a proposed subdivision, Forest Rocky Creek. Currently, the property is nearly 60 acres. It's unplatted and zone agricultural. This property is located off of Salem Road, and here in a minute, I will show the surrounding areas. This proposal is to subdivide 9 acres of the almost 60 acres to make one lot. This lot will be rezoned to residential ranchette, or R5, and this property is for one single-family home. Since this lot does not meet the 20-acre minimum exemption from rezoning, there is an agricultural land preservation that is included on the lot. And some of the unique things about this property, we do have a blue line stream up here and floodplain, and that is what the applicant has chose to put the agricultural land preservation in. In addition to the 2008 comprehensive plan indicates that this property is located within the rural low density tier. The rural low density tier allows for 1 unit per 20 acres or a subdivision of land into 5+ acres, provided that a percentage of this land is preserved. In this case, it would be the agricultural land preservation, which, as I stated previously, that the applicant has provided in this proposal. This is the surrounding area. We have, it's kind of hard to see, but this little gray line here, that's going to be the Ray County line. Just a little bit further north up here is going to be the city limits of Lawson. And we had a previous subdivision down here. This was heard back in January. It was Massengale Acres. So it's, southeast of this. This is our standard rezoning criteria. Staff does believe that this proposal does meet the criteria. This is what our process looks like. We published this in the Courier Tribune. We send all adjoining property owners within 1,000 feet certified letters. In this case, we sent 10. We post a rezoning sign on the property, and then we go through that public meeting process. And that's what we're doing right now. We have received all the necessary approval from outside agencies. We go through this process because we want to be sure that we are creating buildable lots. They got all the necessary approval. For planning and zoning staff, we are recommending approval with the one condition that deals with changes to the recording copy of the plat. And staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners might have, and the applicant is also present.
Thank you, Shane. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Okay, would the applicant please step up to the podium and state your full name and address, please?
Sure. My full name is Louis Byron Phillips. My address is 122. I'll start over. My full name is Louis Byron Phillips. My address is 1228 East 24th Street in North Kansas City.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, you understand and agree with the staff's report?
Yes. I'm sorry?
Do you have anything to present to support your application? Anything other than what was in the staff report?
Sure. I believe I have met all the criteria, and if I have not, please let me know. I'll take care of it.
Okay, do you have any questions?
No.
For the board of staff?
These gentlemen have answered any questions I've had previous to this meeting.
Okay, great. Board members, any questions for the applicant? Okay, with none, public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that supports the application being heard?
I would take with the no people here, that's a support.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would comment that opposes the application being heard? And obviously not. I guess there's no response there. And with that, I guess, can we just move forward with a motion, Kip, or?
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
can close it to public comment, look for a motion and second, and then give the commissioners to state any, you could have additional discussion at that point as to why that motion, or to discuss that motion.
Okay, then we're going to close public comments. And can we get a motion and a second to approve or deny the rezoning of the proposed subdivision, Forest Rocky Creek?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the request. There any other comments from the members regarding the application? Okay, can we get a roll call vote, please?
David Rotis,
Approve.
Mike Brinkley,
Approve.
Terry Griffin,
Approved.
and Marvin Davis.
Approve.
Motion carries.
Okay, with the approval of that rezoning, can we move forward and request a motion and a second on the preliminary plat with one condition set forth in the staff report, please?
Move to approve the condition.
Second, please. Can I get a second?
Second.
There's been a second? Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the request. Is there any comments from the board members at this point? Okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
David Rotis,
Approve the condition.
Mike Brinkley,
Approve.
Terry Griffin,
Approved with conditions.
and Marvin Davis.
Approve with conditions.
Motion carries.
Okay. And we'll move on to the second case we'll hear tonight. That's case number October 22-154F. This is a request for the final plat approval for the proposed subdivision of Forest Rocky Creek. Shane, can we get a quick staff report, please?
Yeah, I'd like to add the staff report to the official record.
So be it.
All right, so this is going to be the final plat for Forest Rocky Creek. Again, this staff believes that the final plat is compliant with the approved preliminary plat. We believe it meets the section 151 1-3.6D of the 2011 Land Development Code, and staff recommends approval with the one condition. Staff would also be happy to answer any questions commissioners might have, and the applicant is also present.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have any questions for staff? So, okay, would the applicant step forward and state your full name and address?
Sure. Once again, my name is Lewis Phillips. My middle name is Byron. My address is 1228 East 24th Street in North Kansas City.
Thank you. Do you have anything additional to present to support your application?
I do. Once again, I believe I have met all the criteria, and if I have not, I will take care of it.
Okay, and do you understand and agree with the staff's report and understand the condition that's in that staff report?
I do.
Okay. Again, board members, do you have any questions? Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that supports the application being heard?
Must be a support.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the application being heard? Okay, I'm going to close public comments, and I'm going to ask to get a motion and a second to approve or deny the final plat with conditions set forth in the staff report of the proposed subdivision, Forest Rocky Creek. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve with condition.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the request. Do any of the board members have any comments regarding the motion to approve? Okay, with none, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
David Rotis,
Approve with condition.
Mike Brinkley,
Approve with condition.
Terry Griffin,
Approve with condition.
and Marvin Davis.
Approve with condition.
Motion carries.
It's been approved.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Have a good evening.
May I leave?
You can.
Thank you.
Can I go with you?
We're close. Okay, we're going to jump into case number 3. And let's see, this is going to be case number August 22nd-148A. This will be the last case we hear tonight. This is a public hearing for approval of revisions to the 2011 Clay County Land Development Code, an ordinance encompassing the zoning and subdivision of land in unincorporated Clay County. Kip, can I get a staff report, please?
Yes, and we'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
So this is the Land Development Code revision that we've talked about the last 2 previous meetings, specifically dealing with cell towers. This is the chart that we presented last time. I'm not going to go through it, that had the local jurisdictions and their setback requirements. If you have questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. We did talk a little bit last week about citizen input. Those included things such as suggestions on minimum acreage, increasing the distance to property lines, access to P&Z files, requiring an impact study, having noise regulations. Talked about the property lines, and then Mr. Chester talked about an additional setback from property line to address future extensions or height additions to the cell towers. So I will tell you, we included some of those, but we didn't include all of them. So these are the ones I have on the screen now are the biggest changes that staff is proposing after hearing the last 2 meetings from this board. So we're proposing to define the landscaping requirements. I think it just makes it a little bit easier to enforce those landscaping requirements when we get a cell tower. We've increased the height of the tower, or the setback. The tower needs to be from all property lines from 100% of the height to 1.5 times the height. We've added a stipulation that on the subject parcel, which means the parcel the tower is going to be on, it has to be at least 100% of the height of that tower from any residential structure. And then new for this meeting, we've added that the tower, or that the setback from any residential structure, that's including any surrounding property, home or residential structure, whether it's a house, accessory dwelling unit, that's about all we have in unincorporated. It has to be 3 times the height of that tower to those residential structures. And then there was some discussion last month about, well, what if there's an existing tower and somebody wants to create new lots and put new houses in there? That they shouldn't have to abide by that 3 times the height because the people know going in that they're buying lots next to that tower. So staff is proposing to have those setback requirements be 110% of the height of the tower. The reason we did 110 is as Mr. Chesser points out, if a cell tower's company is allowed to go in there and add height to that tower, it gives a little buffer, so there's, the tower would not fall on an adjacent property. Now, I will tell you, current county code says they have to redo their conditional use permit if they want to add height to the tower. But this protects us a little bit if the state or federal regulation allows them to extend it without approval from the county. And then the last big thing is we're requiring, with this addition, to require an impact study that is site-specific, and it would be reviewed by a third party. I talked to a couple appraisers that felt that they could do a thorough job of reviewing a site-specific study that would include some renderings of before and after, so showing the tower and what it would look like, and then dealing with things such as property values. So I think that would be a big change as well. And then I would just want to go over a couple examples here. So this is the 140th Street Tower from a few months ago. So this is the subject property in red, and I just used a 160-foot tower for this instance. The last 2 towers we had, one was 155, one was 161. This would be the tower, roughly the tower location. That's where they were going to put it. With the amendments, they would have to be 240 feet from the property lines. So this parcel would not meet the amended code. So the tower would not be allowed to be on this parcel. Then if you extend it to 3 times the height, that takes it to the 480 foot, which, remember, that's from residential structures, so that takes it past, if you remember, Mr. Ross's house. So that one would not be allowed because of these amendments for 2 different reasons. Showed the same thing over here. And then I've got one more example. I just picked a random 20-acre square lot. This one was Stark Fields. It was platted a few years ago by Mr. Philip Johnson. It's off of Stark and 136th Street. And I picked a 260-foot tower because those are the larger cellular towers. So in this case, tower location is here. He can meet his setback for the time and a half. So the tower could be placed on the lot just considering time and a half, but then we have to consider 3 times the height of the tower to all residential structures, and there's a house that's right here, and that 780 feet is past the house. So again, the revision would not allow the 260-foot tower on this specific site. I will say I expected this 480-foot mark to be farther past those houses when I did this exercise. So that was a surprise that it was that close to Mr. Ross's house. Something to consider, but you know, and like we said last month, each property's unique. So I wanted to pick one that we had a cell tower request for, but I also wanted to pick a random one. Staff believes the amendments actually beef up the code, but still would allow towers on certain parcels if they met those requirements. So staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have. I will say the staff report had some deletions and some additions. The deletions were noted in red and they were struck through. The additions were noted in green. So I didn't cover all of them, but I think I covered the major changes. And as I said, staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
I think that's a good common sense medium on the situation, you know, 'cause,
Yeah, I would agree. I do too. I think we've
I mean,
helped.
it's just like, I'm pretty familiar with that area, and of course, that was AT&T, and like I'm cell one, and I don't have to get a mile from there, and I do lose service in the flat down there by the bends. So, you know, you have to realize there is essential use for cell towers, but
Right.
at least that gives a little bit of perimeter on not somebody's back door.
I would agree. For any comments from any other commissioners? Okay. Is anyone in the audience that would like to comment that supports the application? Please state your full name and address.
Yeah, Carl Chester, 14217 Jesse James Farm Road. So I support a lot of the changes what Kip was proposing, we talked about before, which was setback from property and the distance to the residential structure. The only thing I would add in that Kip, I thought, was highlighting it very well, just work through a few examples. And so I was just using the example that was on the East Kearney one. And so I looked at that lot. So in that lot, which, again, napkin math, it's about 430 feet wide. So that middle point, which Kip's kind of highlighting, where you could have a tower, previous was at 155 foot, which would make it. But at the 3X height, a 115-foot tower could be permitted at that spot at the 3X to Mr. Ross's property. The other thing, too, to note, and I'm sure there's better wording, I wasn't familiar with it, what is considered a residential structure, because whether it's the dwelling or the buildings, because those are like that accessory building to the right. He has one that's really close to the property line. So whatever is, I know most people they're naturally concerned about where they're sleeping and where they're living and all that stuff. So whatever defines that, that's what I think most people are concerned about. So just to play that example out, 115 foot tower would land, and then if it was a 4X of that, it'd be 86 foot would still be permitted, and then a 5X would be a 69 foot. So the way I kind of looked at it was 3X is a great, that minimum. The 4X, I think, would even be better because I could see people being upset with a 115-foot tower that close, just because that, again, as Mr. Jones highlighted, it's like sandwiched between a couple properties. And so that being 40 foot is the height maximum for R1 properties. This would be, of course, a multiple of that height of a tower. But again, supporting 3X is good, and then the 1/2 I think makes sense to where it keeps it off the line. So that's all additionally I had. Thank you.
Appreciate the comments.
And can I just quickly add, residential structure for us would be anything that somebody can live in legally. So it'd have to be a house, or we do allow what's called an accessory dwelling unit, which is a smaller version of a house. But if trailers would ever be allowed, anything that could be habitable would be our definition. Not your standard accessory building or garage.
Thank you, Kip. Okay, is there anyone from the audience that opposes the application? Doesn't look like. Okay. I'm going to close the public comments, and there's no other comments from the commissioners. We're going to ask for a motion and a second to approve or deny the revision to the 2011 LDC.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the request. Do any of the board members have any other comments regarding the motion? Okay, with that, can I get a roll call vote, please? Chip?
David Rodas.
Approved.
Mike Brinkley.
Approve.
Terry Griffin.
Approve.
Marvin Davis.
Approve.
Motion carries.
Okay. Chip, did you have anything you wanted to go over before we adjourn the meeting?
Just want to let the commissioners know that we will have a meeting next month. We're working on the agenda now, but unless something drastic happens, we will have a meeting, and then want to go over last month's cases, which I'm failing to remember what they were, which was Eastern Estates, the final plat, Eagle View, which was the one at 124th and A Highway, and then Willow Ranch, which was the 4-lot subdivision with the cul-de-sac. Those were all approved by the county commission. So just wanted to update the commission on that, and that's all that I think I have.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
We'll see you. Thank you.
Get a little more buffer, but yet, the thin breeze.
Well, you guys came up with it.